क्या क्या हो सकता है उसमें. Let's say we can have people, we'll have actors, we'll have characters. Actors will act out those characters. We will have a scene, we will have stage settings, stage directions. All of that is a huge part of drama, right? That is what drama is. That is the definition of drama. We first started by understanding what drama is. And then we went ahead and we started with the history of drama. Okay. Now, whenever you read the history of anything, you learn about basic names and things that happen. Okay. History is always chronological, right? We learned this word in the last class. Chronological means छोटे से बड़ा होता जाना, right? So history is always chronological. Starting में किसी एक type के plays होते थे, जैसा कि हमने कल देखा, right? It starts with miracle plays, right? And it goes on to become something else as well. Right? So what we'll do is we will continue there. We will read through that, and then we will further go to the next paragraphs. Okay, it's going to be this class, and the whole class is going to take this reading. Okay, it's going to be a lengthy reading, but once we have done it, it will be something that you guys can always use. 12th में भी आपको ये बहुत benefit करेगा. Okay. Arushi, can you
just a second, please. Somebody else has been named as Arushi. That person has been made the host.
Oh, okay, sorry. Now that person has to make us host. Muskan, आपको host बना दिया मैंने. Can you make Arushi Didi the host again?
Thank you.
Okay. So basically, we're going to go and read through this, all right? Arushi, just give me screen share rights. Thank you. All right, so we're going to take a quick look at the chapter. We will not repeat yesterday's paragraph, but I'm going to highlight the terms, okay? The terms that we read yesterday. All right. So this is the paragraph that we had read through yesterday. है ना? इसमें दो चीजें हैं जो हम लोग को अच्छे से याद कर सकते हैं हम लोग. ठीक है? 10th century में ritual plays जो होते थे पहले, जो ritual plays क्या होते थे? Rituals क्या होता है आपको पता है? Rituals are basically ये things that are done because they have been rituals are very strongly related to religion. All right. So let's say in the Hindu religion, because that's something I know more about, there are various rituals like, how it's supposed to happen is you're not supposed to cook any food in the house after sundown. Okay, once the sun has, once there is no sun in the sky. Wow, that's a very weird way to say it. But after sundown, you're not supposed to cook any food in the house. And everybody is essentially supposed to fall asleep. They're supposed to go to bed. Okay, and they're supposed to wake up at a time called the Brahm Muhurat, which is very early in the morning, right? So that's a ritual. So usually it's performed, and it's a normal thing in that religion, right? So these rituals.
Yes, also, Didi, जब ग्रहण लगता है, फिर भी बोलते खाना नहीं खाना चाहिए.
Yes.
और भी बहुत कुछ.
Yeah, so the presence of sun had a huge impact on what the kind of things that they were doing. Why so? Because if there is no sun, you can't see what you're eating. Because earlier there was no light and electricity. So if there's no sun, you can't see what you're eating. It makes scientific sense according to that time. No sun, no light, you can't see what you're eating. You can eat poison and die. So don't eat if there is no light. Basic rule. Okay, that's how the rules were made. They were made for survival. Then this slowly and steadily became into rituals. Okay, so there were ritual plays that were being, the ritual of plays that were being performed. And basically, these plays are very close to religion. At the onset, we had plays that were very close to religion. Okay, तो उन plays का एक ritual था. वैसे type के plays होते थे. Okay. Then we come down to something कि वो drama से थोड़ी सी दूर जाने लग गए. There was more English, there was a dramatic script, kuch ho raha tha. There was something other than religion that was happening. These were called miracle plays. This is a good term, this we need to remember. Okay. And later, हमारे religious dramas भी थे, they became morality plays. Okay, they told people about morality, good and bad. All right, and ये बहुत ही abstract ideas आपको discussions कराते थे good और bad के बारे में. Okay, and these were called allegories. Yes, Lakshmi.
What is mean by morality?
Morality is basically the understanding of good and bad. Okay. Yes, Shanaz, you're right. It's called as a morality is the understanding of good and bad. So if let's see, some things are just, if they're supposed, like murdering people is never good. It's immoral to murder people. Okay, that's what morality is. So that's why there are things like the moral compass, good or bad. Okay, that is what morality is. If I have to define it to you, it is, yes, that's exactly what it is. It's the concern, the decision between what's good and what is bad. That's morality for you. Okay, so morality plays लोगों को ये बताते थे, सही से गलत differentiate करना बताते थे बस. Okay. Now we are going to come to Elizabethan and Restoration theatre. This is when theatre बहुत ज़्यादा high scale पे produce होने लगा. This is also when Shakespeare wrote. Okay, and this is one of the most important time periods when it comes to the history of theatre. Okay, who wants to read this? Also, we are very few people in class today, so I request everyone to try and turn their camera on. Okay, let's have a full-blown camera wala class. All right. Okay, who wants to read this? Yes, Lakshmi, you can read, but I also want you to try and turn your camera on. Okay. I haven't seen your face in really long.
दीदी मैं तो करना चाहती हूँ, पर अगर मैं चालू करूंगी तो मैं डिस्कनेक्ट हो जाऊंगी.
एक बार ट्राई करके देखते हैं. If it's happening, then we'll keep it on. Let's do that.
Yes, नहीं दीदी मैं डेटा चेक कर रही हूँ तो बहुत कम डेटा है, तो अगर मैं ऑन करूंगी तो मैं मिस कर दूंगी क्लास को.
No problem. Okay, then no
क्योंकि
problem.
दिन भर बहुत सारे क्लास चलते रहते हैं, डेटा का पूरा खत्म ही हो जाता है.
No issues.
Can I read, दीदी?
Yeah, please go ahead. Read.
Those secular morality players have a direct link to Elizabethan player. The Renaissance imposed a learned tradition classical to debate with him themes of education, generally moral problems, and the secular politics. The player had nothing to do with a religion. There were examples of both comedy and tragedy. Thumbs, Kids, Christopher, and Morello and William Shakespeare are the prime dramatic of Errol. It is a kid traditional medium which Shakespeare uses.
Love you. You missed one line. It was kid who discovered.
Sorry, Didi. Who discovered how easy blank was it might to be converted into useful tragical medium which Shakespeare uses brilliantly in all his play, and tragedy developed in the hand of Cady and the Marlowe. Comedy had also proceeded beyond rustic humor, but by its next of 16th century, 16th country, the theatres and in England was a fully established but complicated condition governed the activities of the
dramatist. We'll stop here. Okay. Lakshmi, what you do when you read is, when you see a word, you don't focus on every letter. Let's say this word is dramatist, right? There is no L in this word. But because you read the first few letters, then you complete the rest. So this is something that I want you to pay attention to the next time you're reading. You add those, and sometimes you don't read the entire word. So the next time you're reading, I want you to read slower. This next paragraph also I want you to read, but I want you to read slower and pay attention to every letter in the word. Okay? This is how you will get better at reading. This is why sometimes when you would have been reading, it would have been difficult for you to understand a word. And I can see why. Okay? रीड करना तो है बट उसको समझना भी है अच्छे से, तो उसको धीरे पढ़ना सबसे बेस्ट ऑप्शन होता है. ओके, एंड इफ यू हैव अ फिजिकल बुक, ऑलवेज कीप अ फिंगर वेयर यू आर रीडिंग. ओके, आई स्टिल डू इट व्हेन यू आर रीडिंग ऑन द कंप्यूटर. आई स्टिल कीप माय फिंगर. Okay, putting your finger where you're reading, it helps you first remain on the right line. Second, it forces you to pay attention to every single word and every single letter. Okay, so whenever we are reading, keep your finger there. Okay, koi aur pad raha hai tab bhi keep it. All right, now let's go to this paragraph again. So this, we are now starting with the Elizabethan and Restoration area. इसको मैं pronounce जब भी करूँगी उसको थोड़ा सा ध्यान देना मैं कैसे बोल रही हूँ. This is Elizabethan, okay, and Restoration, okay. Restoration उस era का नाम था, ठीक है. हर era का एक एक नाम पड़ता है literature में. We don't need to get into that, but just know that this is what it is being called right now, okay. ये secular morality plays हैं. These secular morality plays have direct links with Elizabethan plays. ये जो अभी हम morality plays के बारे में पढ़ रहे थे ना ऊपर, जिसमें religious characters हैं, ये वाले plays की बात हो रही है. ये जो morality plays हैं, they have direct links with Elizabethan plays. Yes, Muskan, you have a doubt?
Yes, Titi, era means.
Era means एक जो हिंदी में हम बोलते हैं उस चीज का दौर आया था. That is era. Okay, that's an era. And in this case, basically era would dictate some kind of similar things were happening during that period of time. So that was that particular era. All right, that's how you'll categorize an era. Okay, so ये जो secular morality plays थे, they have direct links. मतलब वो बहुत जुड़े हुए हैं हमारे Elizabethan plays से. Now Renaissance, ये जो वर्ड है, दिस इज प्रोनाउंस्ड एज रेनेसांस. एंड इसमें क्या होता है, पुराने टाइम का जो आर्ट्स होता है, जो पुराने टाइम के जैसे लोग पढ़ रहे होते हैं, उसको वापस से लोग फिर से यूज करने लगते हैं. लेट्स से इंडिया वेंट थ्रू अ योगा रेनेसांस. हाउ? पुराने टाइम पे जो योगा होता था, जो बहुत कम हो गया था बीच में ना, बहुत कम इंडियंस करते थे योगा. बट नाउ इफ यू सी अ लॉट मोर पीपल दे डू योगा, ओके, और योग, है ना, and they know the names of all the asanas and they do it with proper, the proper nomenclature. Nomenclature means किसी चीज को कैसे name करते हैं, right? So they do it like that. So Renaissance means किसी पुरानी चीज का वापस आना. Let's understand it like that. Imposed a learned tradition, classical in depth with themes of education. Okay, क्या हुआ कि पुराने टाइम पे जो होता था वो वापस आ रहे थे. So classical in-depth themes आने लग गए, education के themes, general moral problems के themes, secular politics आने लग गया theater में, ठीक है. These plays, ये वाले जो plays थे, they had nothing to do with religion. They had more to do with education, general moral problems, not religion related, but general moral problems and politics से related आने लग गए. Okay, there were examples of both comedy as well as tragedy. कल हमने different types of drama किए थे, उसमें हमने समझा था ना, comedy as well as tragedy दोनों type के थे. Okay, this is Thomas Kidd, KYD को हम Kidd बोलते हैं. Okay, Thomas Kidd, Christopher Marlowe and William Shakespeare, very famous people, all three of these. Okay, and इनके बहुत सारे plays, if you have English and your graduation or in next year, you will have William Shakespeare at least. Okay, they are the prime dramatists of this era. इस दौर के सबसे ज़्यादा famous लोग ये. Okay, it was Kidd who discovered how easily blank verse क्या होता है? When we were doing poetry, we had read that. Blank verse क्या होता है? आपको rhyming scheme पता है? ABAB rhyming scheme सबको आता है यहाँ पे, हमने करा है rhyming scheme.
Yes, Titi.
Yes.
Yes.
So rhyming scheme ही से similar verse की भी होती है rhymes. उसमें एक बात आप समझ लो कि एक कोई उसको मैचिंग ना करके उसको खाली छोड़ देने को blank verse कहते हैं. Okay, so he discovered how easily blank verse might be converted into useful theatrical medium. ओके उनको ये लगा कि एक उसको खाली छोड़ के अगर वैसे कोई बोले तो बहुत ध्यान पड़ता है किसी दूसरे इंसान का. बेसिकली इफ यू talk like that, let's say if I pause and if I stress on things, you will listen to me with more concentration, you'll pay more attention to me. That is what he had discovered in terms of theater. Okay. Yes, so basically, and then thereafter Shakespeare used this is on all of his plays. Shakespeare's plays are very famously very very well written. He expresses things, उनके जो मीटर वो यूज करते हैं, मीटर क्या होता है, ऐसे रिदम होती है प्लेस में. ओके उनके बोलने की रिदम, हमारे बोलने में भी एक रिदम होती है, आप देख राइट. आपने कभी ऐसा देख रहे कुछ कार्टून मूवीज में sometimes it happens that someone is talking and suddenly they start singing. Have you seen that? Like while talking only they start singing. Some cartoon would be, it happens a lot in Mickey Mouse. You know, like the Mickey Mouse will be talking to all of us and then suddenly Mickey Mouse will go, oh toodles, because he's calling for that small toy thing that comes. Do you guys watch Mickey Mouse, or is this a weird reference? You watch Mickey? No? Okay, Shahnaz doesn't, can't does. If you have time, go to YouTube and watch one episode of Mickey Mouse. Okay, I think they're there. They're fun to watch and they're good for your English also. Okay. So basically, sometimes there's a lot of music or rhythm that is there in how we talk. That is what they were using in plays. Okay, because you pay more attention and it is easier. See what is happening. What was happening was these actors need to remember the dialogues and people should want to pay attention. And in both of these cases, rhythm and matching words, they go really well, right? It's very easy to remember song lyrics. नहीं आपके फेवरेट सॉन्ग का आपको पूरा लिरिक्स याद होगा, पर आपकी फेवरेट मूवी के आपको सारे डायलॉग्स नहीं याद होंगे, कुछ डायलॉग्स याद होंगे, राइट? That's how it works. Okay. Tragedy developed in the hands of Kyd and Marlowe. Comedy had also proceeded beyond rustic humor. Rustic humor is basically बहुत ही basic type का joke क्रैक करना, ठीक है? Like जो जोक बहुत फनी नहीं है, उसमें बहुत एफर्ट्स नहीं लगे. कुछ जोक्स को बहुत ही डिफिकल्टी के साथ आप बनाते हो, right? If I want to, let's say, plan a prank on Shahnaz, it'll be an elaborate prank. I'll plan all these things and then I'll do something and then it'll be funny, or I'll just make a very silly comment. Two different kinds of things, right? So that rustic humor is not putting in that much effort into the joke, but then there was more complicated things that were very very funny for people, that were intentionally funny. Okay, but by the 90s of the 16th century, the 1690s tak, the theatre of England was fully established, but complicated conditions governed the activity of the dramatist. Complicated conditions kya thi? It was being the government, us time pe, government to nahi, us time pe there were the kings and queens ka era chal raha tha. So us time pe, the, let's say whoever was in rule, they were imposing things onto dramatists. उनको बोल रहे थे कि इस टाइप का प्ले नहीं होगा. Nobody will go and watch these plays because these are bad for you. ऐसे बोला जा रहा. Okay, let's understand that. इस पैराग्राफ को समझ में आया? It is not saying much. It is just telling us कि secular morality plays जो हम लोग वो उसमें पढ़ रहे थे, उससे related plays शुरू हुए इंग्लैंड में. इस पीरियड के टाइम पे रेनेसांस हुआ, मतलब पुराने टाइम का ड्रामा फिर से वापस आने लग गया. अब हम लोग रिलीजन के बारे में नहीं, एजुकेशन, मोरल प्रॉब्लम्स और पॉलिटिक्स के बारे में ज्यादा प्लेस कर रहे थे, ठीक है? ट्रेडिशन लर्न कर रहे थे प्लेस के थ्रू. ओके, और 3 लोगों का नाम बताया, थॉमस किड, क्रिस्टोफर मार्लोव एंड विलियम शेक्सपियर. थॉमस किड ने हमको ब्लैंक वर्स के बारे में बताया कि एक अगर आप वर्स को खाली छोड़ दोगे, एक उसमें अगर आप कोई साउंड, कोई रिदम नहीं डालोगे तो वो ज्यादा अट्रैक्टिव साउंड करता है, और फिर शेक्सपियर ने उसको यूज किया. अंडरस्टूड? बस इतनी सी बात है. समझा ये पैराग्राफ सबको?
दीदी फिल इन द ब्लैंक्स आ सकता है ना, किसने डिस्कवर किया, तो इन तीनों के नाम लिखने पड़ेंगे.
Yes, but so the thing with, yes Lakshmi बोलो.
यस, मैच द पेयर में भी आ सकता है. 3 नाम दिए होंगे और एक इनकरेक्ट को चूज करने बोल सकते हैं.
Yes, ये सब आ सकता है. The thing is, when you read something, जब आप पहली बार कोई चीज पढ़ते हो तो इस पर्सपेक्टिव से मत पढ़ो कि एग्जाम में क्या आएगा इसमें से. इस पर्सपेक्टिव से पढ़ो कि क्या मुझे समझ में आ रहा है. एक बार आप पूरी चीज समझ लोगे ना, फिर जब आप रिवाइज करोगे तो ऑटोमेटिकली आपको पता होगा एग्जाम में आने पे क्या लिखना है. Okay. Now, the reason why I don't want to get into exam में कैसा आएगा is because all of your colleges, some of your colleges are autonomous. Some of your colleges work with Mumbai, Maharashtra University, right? No, it's Mumbai University, sorry. Some of your colleges work with Mumbai University. Both of those colleges will have different questions, different types of question papers. In fact, different syllabus even. Okay. So what's more important is that we understand this. Baki, the question pattern and all of that will be discussed more at length by your personal teachers, college. Okay?
Yes, Didi.
Lovely. Now, I want you to read this next paragraph, okay, Lakshmi? Then we'll have someone else read from the next coming paragraph. But when you're reading this, keep in mind, I want you to pay attention to every word, every detail in that paragraph, okay? Don't miss out on any words. All right?
Yes, Didi.
Perfect. Let's start.
The public theatre of the 16th century, yes, the public theatre of 16th century differed in many important ways from the modern theatres. It was open to sky without artificial lighting. There was a broad platform with a and supported by pillars. There was no curtain and the main platform could be surrounded on this by the
Okay, I think Lakshmi is having some network issues. All right. Let's see. I think she's back. Lakshmi, can you hear us?
Yes, Didi, but मैं स्क्रीन नहीं देख पा रही हूँ नेटवर्क इश्यू की वजह से. हेलो दीदी.
Hello. Okay, 1 second. I'll share. Shall I share it again? तब आपको दिखेगा.
Yes.
1 second. अभी दिख रहा है आपको स्क्रीन?
Yes, can I read it?
Yes, yes. Please continue. There was
Hello,
no
Didi.
curtain से करते हैं. हाँ, continue करते हैं.
There was no curtains and the main platform could be surrounded on three sides by the audience. Around the theatres, there was a gallery in the 17th century. In closet theatre gained importance. There was increasing attention to the since device has a theatre
became private. Perfect. Okay. So वो modern theaters जो अभी अगर आप theater देखने जाओ, if today you decide to go, I don't know if they're performing these days, but if you went to go watch something in Mumbai right to these days, you will watch it in something called as the modern theater. आजकल जो theater चल रहा है, okay? And they very much look like cinema halls. They're air conditioned, the chairs maybe not as good as your normal cinema theaters, but they're very nice chairs and everything. The public theater in the 16th century was very different from all of this, okay? Open air theater होता था, all right? छत नहीं होती थी ऊपर से, okay? कोई आर्टिफिशियल लाइटिंग नहीं होती थी, तो शाम को नहीं होता था, वो दिन में होता था. अगर आर्टिफिशियल लाइटिंग नहीं है, then if I want to be able to see people, then I need to be doing it in the day, unless it is a night setting का play, okay? The stage was a raised platform with the axis at the back supported by pillars. Okay? Normal pillars लगे होते थे और पीछे से हमारे कैरेक्टर्स के एंटर करने के लिए होता था और ऐसे आगे से खुला होता था जहां से सबको दिखता था. बस रेस्ड प्लेटफॉर्म पे होते थे. Okay? There were no curtains. Okay? अभी क्या होता है, आपने अगर स्कूल में भी अपने कभी परफॉर्म किया हो या आपने देखा हो तो कर्टन पीछे से एक्टर्स आते हैं ना. That time there were no curtains, right? And the main platform would be surrounded on three sides. जैसे ये main platform है, यहाँ से और यहाँ से audience होगी, ठीक है? पीछे से लोग आएंगे acting करने के लिए stage पे बट बाकी की 3 साइड से आपको ऑडियंस बैठी, समझा?
Yes,
Perfect. So, and 1 second, Lakshmi, I'll come to your doubt, okay? Around the theater, there were galleries. ऐसे पतले पतले से गैलरी. गैलरी क्या होता है? दोनों ओर दीवार होगी और पतला सा चलने का एरिया. Okay? In the 17th century, the closed theater gained importance. There was increasing attention to scenic device as theater became private. Public theater मतलब पूरी public को open होता था theater. Okay? कोई भी आके बैठ के देख सकता है. कुछ कुछ में थोड़ा सा पैसे देने पड़ते थे, कुछ में वो भी नहीं होता था. अब बैठ के देखो. आगे चल के जब वो प्राइवेटाइज हो गया तो एंट्री फिर टिकट वाला सिस्टम आ गया, जैसे अभी होता है टिकट्स. ओके, सो जब टिकट्स आ गई तो दे वर ट्राइंग टू मेक इट बेटर, राइट? सो उसमें सीनिक डिवाइस मतलब आसपास की सराउंडिंग्स कैसी लगेंगी, स्टेज को कैसे डेकोरेट करना है, इस सब पे ज्यादा अटेंशन पे करने लगा. ओके, यस लक्ष्मी, आपका क्या डाउट है?
नो दीदी, डाउट नहीं था, वही कि अभी के टाइम पे खाली फ्रंट ही रहता है, फ्रंट साइड ही खुला रहता है ना, सिर्फ आगे का. बाकी तीनों जगह ऐसे कर्टन्स रहते हैं और पर्दे भी रहते ताकि एक्टर्स पहले से ही आके खड़े रहे, फिर जिसका टर्न होगा. क्योंकि स्कूल में मैंने भी ड्रामा किया था तो हम लोग की सीन आने से पहले ही हम लोग को आगे कर देते थे, फिर हमारा सीन आता तो फिर हम पीछे जाके फिर से पर्दे के पीछे आ जाते थे.
एग्जैक्टली, दीज डेज वो कर्टन्स तो होते ही हैं, प्लस 3 साइड से नहीं देखते हैं लोग. मोस्टली इफ यू आर performing on stage, in front only you'll have. But if you go and watch authentic theaters, and there are such theaters, beautiful theaters in Mumbai itself, okay, there is a balcony जो थोड़े ऊपर से लोग बैठे होते हैं, then there are people in front, there are people on both sides, and it's beautiful, trust me. It's very interesting to watch a live play. It's different because you can choose to look at whatever you want to see.
दीदी वो प्लेटफॉर्म कर्व में होता है ना,
Yes,
स्क्वायर में कर्व.
kabhi it can be in both. It depends on the design of the theater. It can be in curve also, and it can be in square also. In this that they're talking about, this one is a square one. It starts with a square. Okay.
ओके दीदी.
So this is how, and there are such theaters in Mumbai. It's, what it is. If you're watching a play, if you're seeing a movie, you will see what the camera has shot, right? बाकी के लोग कैसे खड़े हैं आप नहीं देख सकते. You can't go inside the screen and go, okay, what is that person doing? You can't see that person because उस पे camera नहीं है. They are not visible in the camera right now, right? So you will see what the person wants to show you. If they just want to show you my face, then that is all you will see. But in theater, because you're there where it is being performed, like you can take a look at whatever you want to see. If you want, you can just take a look at that one person who has become a tree, whether they're standing straight or not. Okay, so that's your choice to make. That's why theater is very fun to watch. All right, okay. Now let's read the next paragraph. I want Sangeeta and Achal to read. Sangeeta and Achal में कौन read करेगा आज? Sangeeta, Achal, can you hear me? I think they can hear me. Okay, decide who is going to read and then come back to me. In the meanwhile, let's have Muskan read this one. Muskan, are you okay with reading this one? Okay, thereafter I'll have Shehnaz read. Okay. संगीता, आंचल, आपको आवाज आ रही है मेरी? Okay, we can't hear you. Muskan, go ahead.
Shakespeare era came into existence in the 16th century to the public theatre. He wrote for a contemporary theatre, manipulating the Elizabethan stage with great resource and inventions. But the genius of Shakespeare Shakespeare should not allow the rest of the drama of his age to be obscured. Contemporary to him was Ben Jonson, a classicist, a moralist, and a reformer of drama. In comedy, Jonson's genius is found at its best, and his influence was considerable. Considerable. The restoration and dramatics learned leaned leaned strongly upon him. Closing of theatres by the Puritans in 1642 brought the greatest of all periods in the history of English drama to an end. With the Civil Wars, no theatre existed between 1642 to 1660. The next phase, which appeared after the restoration and produced a very different kind of dramatic literature. Dramatics like Chapman, Chapman,
Chapman.
Chapman, Thomas Middleton, Webster, and Dicker, Dicker,
Decker.
Dicker were at the forefront.
Perfect. We'll pause here. Okay. Now, as I told you guys, this is a slightly very important. Sorry, I turned the page accidentally. The things, what we are currently reading about, the Elizabethan and Restoration era theatre, this kind of theatre was a very, very important part of the theatre. Okay, it was a very huge part. If you start studying literature, this is three subjects. This is not even a book. This is 3 subjects. Okay, and then in those subjects there are different aspects of this that you study about. Now we are coming to one of the most important parts of this. This is this Shakespearean era. When Shakespeare is writing, it becomes the Shakespearean era. Now, when Shakespeare is writing, there are other writers who are also writing, just as the writers that are mentioned here. But he became one of the most prominent people who were writing. Hence, it is called the Shakespearean era. Okay, ये समझा इसको हम लोग शेक्सपियरियन एरा क्यों बोल रहे हैं? It came into existence when in the 16th century. ये जो पूरा हम लोग पढ़ रहे हैं, we are reading about the 16th century. Earlier we started from the 10th century. Then we did 13th and 14th. 15th का nothing as such was mentioned. Then we came to Elizabethan period. तब से हम लोग 16th century में हैं. Okay, 16th century में और public theatre के time पे he was writing. Okay. He wrote for the contemporary theatre. Manipulate करना मतलब किसी चीज, एक 2 मीनिंग्स हो सकते हैं मैनिपुलेशन के. मैनिपुलेट मतलब किसी चीज को ना अपने हिसाब से मोड़ लेना या किसी को अपने हिसाब से कन्विंस करना. Okay, let's say I want to manipulate. Manipulate करना is a bad word. Okay, like it's a negative. The word has a negative meaning to it. So I don't recommend using it for your friends unless they're doing that. All right. Basically manipulate करना मतलब किसी चीज को convince करना कि जो मैं बोल रही हूँ वो ज्यादा अच्छा है और जैसा मैं बोल रही हूँ वैसे करो. Okay, that is manipulation. In this case, when he's manipulating the Elizabethan stage, that means he's trying to do things that are his way. Shakespeare was very different from the kind of people that existed in his time. In fact, he was unique. Okay, that means nothing like that had existed before. Even when they were going back to Renaissance, having classical things coming, Shakespeare was very new. His ideas were very, very different and very, very new. That's why he's manipulating the Elizabethan stage. Okay, with great resource and invention. He was inventing things. There's something called as the Shakespearean sonnet. He invented that sonnet and he wrote a lot of sonnets in that format. Okay. But the genius of Shakespeare should not allow the rest of the drama of his age to be obscured. Obscure matlab? ऑब्सक्योर हमने कल भी पढ़ा था एक बार. ऑब्सक्योर का किसी को मतलब मैंने जो बताया था याद है? थोड़ा सा याद करो. अच्छा, इससे अगर पढ़ने की हम लोग कोशिश करें, व्हाट इज दिस, उसकी शेक्सपियर की वजह से उस बाकी के ड्रामास शुड नॉट बी ऑब्सक्योर्ड, शुड नॉट. यस, गो अहेड.
देखिए सेंटेंस समझ में आया कि उनके वजह से वो ड्रामा ज्यादा अच्छा हुआ, मतलब खराब नहीं हुआ. मतलब
That's
मतलब खराब नहीं होना, कैसे भी करके समझ जाना.
But that's not what this statement is about. What are they saying is, but the genius of Shakespeare, जो शेक्सपियर इतने अच्छे थे कि उनके नाम से जाना जा रहा है, इसकी वजह से हमको ये नहीं भूलना चाहिए कि और भी लोग थे उस टाइम पे जो लिख रहे थे. Okay, that is what this sentence is about. And now they will tell us about, let's say they'll start with Ben Jonson, okay, who was another person who existed in the same time. I am telling you, we are calling this the Shakespearean era, but there were other people who were writing too, right? Other than Shakespeare. Okay, that is what we are learning about right now. Okay, so this is obscure का मतलब, I'll tell you, obscure मतलब कोई चीज जो बहुत अच्छे से नहीं दिख रही हो, या जिस पे हम, in this case we are not looking at that. Okay, but obscure हो जाना, that means दिख नहीं रहा. Okay, she drew the curtains and the sun became obscure. उन्होंने curtains खींच दिए और sun नहीं दिख रहा था उसके बाद. Okay, समझा obscure का मतलब? Perfect. Contemporary to him. कंटेम्प्रेरी मतलब उनके टाइम में ही लिखने वाले, उनके संग संग लिखने वाले, इन सम वेज उनका कंपटीशन. ओके, बिकॉज इफ आई, लेट्स से I have a party at my place and Bushra or Lakshmi has a party at their place. Okay, now we have the same friends, either you'll go to my party or you'll go to Lakshmi's party. Okay, so Lakshmi is my contemporary, वो same time पे मेरे साथ party कुछ throw कर रही. Okay, now she necessarily doesn't have to be my competition, but both of us exist in the same time. Okay, so similar to Shakespeare के time में, another person who was writing was Ben Jonson. He was a classicist, मतलब classical theatre पे बहुत उनका वो रहता था. A moralist, जो morality पे काफी ध्यान देते थे, and a reformer of drama. Reform करना मतलब किसी चीज को अच्छे के लिए बदलना. Okay, in comedy Johnson's genius is found at its best and his influence was considerable. सबसे अच्छे बेन जॉनसन कॉमेडी में थे. ओके, और उनकी इन्फ्लुएंस मतलब उन्होंने बहुत सारी चीजों को चेंज किया है उस पर्टिकुलर उसमें. ओके, द रेस्टोरेशन ड्रामेटिस्ट लीन्ड स्ट्रांगली अपॉन हिम. रेस्टोरेशन मतलब किसी चीज को रिस्टोर करना, रेनेसांस के टाइम पे हो रहा था. मतलब फॉर एग्जाम्पल, आपके घर में आपने कभी एक्वागार्ड को इंस्टॉल किया है अपने घर में? लेट्स से यू हैव एक्वागार्ड एट होम. ओके, बेसिकली पानी प्योरीफाई करने के लिए होता है. ओके, I want to have an aquaguard at my new home, so I'm going to take it away from here, take it outside from this home, go and restore it. Okay, उसको फिर से install करूँगी, reinstall it. Okay, restore something means किसी चीज को वापस लेके आना. Let's say दिल वाले, have you seen the latest दिल वाले movie that came? The Shah Rukh Khan one, in which he's still doing the hand thing, right? So that movie sort of like a restoration movie for those kinds of movies. You know, a heroine is dancing in front of the fountain with a long sari ka pallu. There is sunlight coming from all windows in the house. Now that used to happen in old movies, right? We've seen very old movies have all of those things. Very simple storyline. Two people meet, fall in love. That's it. That's the movie. That's restoration. पहले होता था, बीच में बहुत टाइम तक नहीं होता था, अलग अलग चीजें होंगी. अब हम फिर से वो कर रहे हैं, रिस्टोर कर रहे हैं उसको. समझा रेस्टोरेशन का मतलब? रेस्टोरेशन इज स्लाइटली इंपॉर्टेंट. रेस्टोरेशन एक पूरा पीरियड था जिसमें पुराने टाइम की चीजों को फिर से कर रहे थे. ओके, सो जो रेस्टोरेशन के ड्रामेटिस्ट थे इस पीरियड में, जो लोग ड्रामा लिखते थे, वो बेन जॉनसन को बहुत मानते थे. ओके, they leaned strongly on him, means they used to take a lot of inspiration from him. उनसे बहुत similar लिखते थे वो लोग. Okay, closing of theatre by the Puritans Puritans, we don't need to know who Puritans are. Basically क्या हुआ था, जैसे we have Hindu-Muslim riots, right, in our country. There in England there were riots in the church, तब भी religion की वजह से ही था. Okay, उसमें कुछ झगड़े हुए. और अगर country देखो, दो अगर if two different countries fight, then it is war. Okay, like there are things like that going on right now. But if you have fights inside your country, then it is called civil war. Okay, that means nobody else is coming to fight with us, we are only fighting. So let's say so nobody else is going to come and attack us, but hum ek dusre ko attack kar rahe. Okay, so that is called civil war. So जब उनके चर्च में जब लड़ाई हुई तो लंबे टाइम तक, दैट इज 1642 से लेकर 1660 तक कोई भी थिएटर या ड्रामा परफॉर्म नहीं, थिएटर्स को क्लोज कर दिया गया 1642 में. तो शेक्सपियर का एरा वहां पे एंड हो जाता है. ओके, द नेक्स्ट फेज अपीयर्ड आफ्टर रेस्टोरेशन. सॉरी, शेक्सपियर कंटिन्यूज ऑन थ्रू ऑल ऑफ दिस closed the Elizabethan era. All right. The next phase appeared after restoration, after the restoration, and produced a very different kind of dramatic literature. Okay, मतलब थोड़ा हटके प्लेस बनने लग गए, जैसे पहले बन रहे थे उससे काफी अलग. ओके, और ये कुछ ड्रामेटिस्ट है जो उस टाइम पे लिख रहे थे. चैपमैन, थॉमस मिडल्टन, वेबस्टर, डेकर वर एट द फोरफ्रंट. ये लोग सबसे ज्यादा फेमस थे. देखो, आज के टाइम में अगर देखा जाए बहुत सारे सिंगर्स हैं, राइट, इन बॉलीवुड. नाउ श्रेया घोषाल, सोनू निगम, अरिजीत सिंह, दीज पीपल, आतिफ असलम, वेरी फेमस पीपल. ऐसा नहीं कि और पीपल नहीं है, बट अगर मुझे आज मेंशन करना है, सो आई मेंशन दीज 4-5 पीपल हु आर वेरी फेमस, राइट. सिमिलरली दे आर मेंशनिंग दीज 4-5 पीपल. Okay, now this era of music that we are living in, this can very much be called the Arijit Singh era, because he sings all kinds of songs and we have a lot of songs that are sung by him. Which is not to say that the rest of the musicians and their careers should become obscure. कि हम उनको देखे ही ना, ऐसे नहीं होना चाहिए ना. That is what is happening here. Shakespeare, very famous, lot of plays, lot of poetry, lot of sonnets, but that doesn't mean that we forget about the rest of the people. That's what we are studying. Okay, now we're going to read through this paragraph and we're going to start modern theater in the next class. Okay, but once we are done with this, we are going to take out 5 minutes and take a look at Shakespeare का drama जो मैं बोल रही थी ना, Midsummer Night's Dream. We're going to read a couple of lines from that drama, or we'll do an introduction of that. So I'm reading this because we want to finish this off a little early, and then we'll start thodu sa A Midsummer's Night Dream. Okay, because reading a lot of this should help you understand that also, and we're going to use it like that. Okay, when Charles II, now all of these are kings. Okay, so इनके नाम भी वैसे होते हैं, किंग टाइप. और you don't need to know because this isn't very detailed. आगे चल के आपको और डिटेल में खुद से पढ़ा देंगे जहाँ पे आपको जानने का होगा. यहाँ पे all we need to know is this. Okay, when Charles II came back with the restoration of 1660, 42 से 1660 तक कुछ नहीं हुआ, फिर Charles II वापस आए with the restoration of 1660. The theaters were reopened. The Restoration comedy achieved its peculiar excellence. Drama developed into class drama with upper class ethos. Means जो ड्रामा था उसमें क्लास डिवीजन बहुत बढ़ गया. अमीर लोग अलग से दिखा रहे थे, कम जो नॉर्मल जो कमाने और खाने वाले लोग थे उनको अलग से दिखा रहे थे. Okay, ऐसे क्लास डिवीजन बहुत क्लियरली, there was a very clear cut class division. And classical drama tha, that came with a lot of upper class ethos. Okay, this particular thing, it lasted beyond this period, and it lasted up till the first decade of 18th century. Abhi kya hai? 1660. 18th century, earlier part of the 18th century tak ye chalta rahega aise. Ethos means किसी तरीके के guiding principles जो होते हैं किसी चीज के. Okay, अपर क्लास ethos means अपर क्लास के लोग जैसे बैठते खाते जैसा बात करते, वो सारी चीजें बहुत ज्यादा रिफ्लेक्ट होने लग गई ड्रामा में. okay, उनके clothes, उनका बैठने बोलने चालने का तरीका, that became very very prominent in drama. Okay, comedy in the early 18th century declined into sentimentalism. मैंने समझाया था थोड़ा सा, sentimentalism isn't something we need to focus on, so we're not going to go deep into it. Okay, look at it as वो कॉमेडी खत्म हुआ और कोई दूसरा थोड़ा और इमोशनल एरा शुरू. Okay, it became comedy of manners. Comedy of manners is very interesting. We didn't go into a lot of detail of that because it's a complex concept. What it basically means is जिस तरीके से आप रहते हैं और जो आपका रहने का तरीका है उस पे जोक बनने लग गए. पहले क्या हो रहा था, लोगों पे जोक बन रहा था, एक इंसान पे जोक बन रहा था. अब रहने के तरीकों पे जोक बनने लग गया. Let's say if I go to a queen's palace and I'm just like, oh my god, she doesn't talk to her family members, and I crack jokes about how they live, then that becomes a comedy of manners. Okay, let's take a look at it that way. George Etheridge was its most important exponent. सबसे important जिन लोगों ने उसके बारे में लिखा वो ये थे. From such depths, the drama was rescued by Oliver Goldsmith and Richard Sheridan. ये एक बहुत ही दुखी टाइप का ड्रामा आने लग गया था सेंटिमेंटलिज्म में when we were going. Okay? बहुत मजे के लिए नहीं होता था, बहुत सीरियस मैसेजेस होते थे. उससे फिर थोड़े फनी प्लेस में कौन लाया? ऑलिवर गोल्डस्मिथ एंड रिचर्ड शेरिडन. With Sheridan, something of the brilliance of Restoration dialogue returned into comedy, but with more genial atmosphere. We don't need to understand this, we must give it. Okay, the characters, ये समझना है हमको. जब शेरिडन लिख रहे थे तो the characters were firmly presented with clarity. Okay, reminiscent of Johnson, ये जो Ben Jonson जैसे लिखते थे वैसा. Okay, but with no depth in Sheridan's world. कॉमेडी के लिए इतना डेप्थ नहीं था पर क्लैरिटी था. जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल एक लड़की होगी जिसको हमेशा गुस्सा आता होगा, तो पूरे प्ले भर वो गुस्सा ही करेगी सब पे. क्लैरिटी. ओके, ऐसा नहीं होगा कि अभी वो गुस्सा है फिर वो खुश हो जाएगी. नो, इफ दैट इज हु शी इज, then that is who she remains for the entire play, and it is very clearly visible to us, then that is who she is. जो विलन है वो विलन ही रहेगा. ऐसा बहुत बार आजकल आपने देखा होगा नहीं होता है. कभी कभी विलन भी अच्छे काम करते हैं मूवीज में. Have you guys seen that? Sometimes a villain does something great, you're like, oh my god, is that person the villain or is that person the hero? You don't know who's the hero, right? So that is very modern. In that time, there was clarity in characters. Okay, no new interpretation of human nature. ऐसा नहीं कि कुछ अलग meanings निकाल रहा है, जो था वैसे ही था. It was in this, he was nearer to Oscar Wilde than to Johnson. Oscar Wilde, another famous person. Johnson, famous person. We don't need to know about this as much as we need to understand कि ये देखो, look at it as a whole. Elizabethan period में क्या क्या हो रहा है? If I want to revise this, I don't know why I keep changing this page. Sorry. If I want to revise this, क्या होता है? हमारे secular morality plays चल रहे थे, उससे हम लोग Elizabethan plays पे आए. Renaissance चल रहा था, बहुत ज्यादा पुरानी चीजों को वापस लेके आ रहे थे. ठीक है? इस टाइम पे कौन कौन लिखता है? थॉमस किड, क्रिस्टोफर मार्लो और शेक्सपियर. किड ने क्या किया? डिस्कवर किया कि एक तरीके की वर्स होती है, बहुत अच्छी साउंड करती है. शेक्सपियर ने उसको यूज किया और बहुत सारी चीजें लिखी. ठीक है. पब्लिक थिएटर चलता था उस टाइम पे 16th सेंचुरी के स्टार्टिंग में. छत नहीं होती थी और जैसी लाइटिंग होती थी उसी में परफॉर्म करते थे. फिर आगे चल के प्राइवेट हो गया थिएटर. टिकट खरीद के जो क्लोज्ड स्पेस में परफॉर्म करने लग गए लोग. ठीक है. शेक्सपियर बहुत फेमस थे इस एरा में, बट उनके अलावा बाकी लोग भी लिख रहे थे, जिनमें से एक है बेन जॉनसन. बेन जॉनसन ने क्या किया? उन्होंने कॉमेडी को बहुत ही एक थोड़ा सा ट्विस्ट दिया था. उन्होंने कॉमेडी की में उनका बहुत इम्पैक्ट रहा था. ठीक है. और बहुत सारे उस टाइम के जो रेस्टोरेशन के ड्रामेटिस्ट थे वो उनकी तरह वो बेन जॉनसन की तरह लिखना चाहते थे. 1642 में एक लड़ाई होती है और 1642 से लेकर 1660 तक थिएटर बंद हो जाते हैं. ओके. देन उसके बाद जब 1660 में फिर से शुरू हुआ तो ड्रामेटिस्ट लाइक चैपमैन, थॉमस मिडल्टन, वेबस्टर एंड डेकर ने लिखना शुरू किया. चार्ल्स II, when he comes back, he comes back with theater. Okay, that happens in 1660. Okay, restoration comedy comes back into place. Restoration means you're restoring, first of all, the comedy, and that comedy is very similar to the classic idea of comedy. Okay, this comedy talked a lot, this drama developed into the upper class. A lot of very, very rich and snobbish people. I don't like the smell of that, so I will not eat that. Like that, वैसा वाला atmosphere. Basically, I prefer myself. This was being laughed at. People, these were what the jokes were about. Okay, laughing at these people. And when this is happening, there are two people who come into prominence who write this restoration comedy, Oliver Goldsmith and Richard Sheridan. Okay, now they have talked more about Sheridan, कि वो कैसे restoration में और काम करते हैं और उनके characters Ben Jonson के characters को resemble करते हैं. Okay, that is what we will understand now, for now, from Elizabethan theatre. Now let's take a look at, shall we do that or shall we do it next time? Okay, let's quickly understand a little bit when it comes to our Midsummer's Night Dream. Okay. A Midsummer Night's Dream. Okay. This is a play by Shakespeare. And अभी हमने बहुत सारा कुछ पढ़ा उनके टाइम के बारे में. So I feel like this is a good place to start this. Okay, we are not going to do the entire play, but हम थोड़ा सा उसको देखेंगे एक बार ऊपर से. This is information about Shakespeare. What kind of plays he used to write. If you read this, you'll be able to revise what we've just read. For now, I want to focus on this. जो theme है उसका. Okay? The dominant theme is the dream in Midsummer Night's Dream is love. प्यार के ऊपर है. Okay? Shakespeare tries to portray how people tend to fall in love with those who appear beautiful to them. Though attraction towards beauty might appear to be love, but real love is much more than physical attraction. तो आपको अगर कोई देख के सुंदर लगता है, that is what he's bringing out. If you find someone to be beautiful, that means you like them, you're attracted to them. But love is more than this physical attraction, and that is what this play is about. Okay, we don't need to read the plot of the play. Look at how interesting this is, this picture. That's a donkey's head, right? Okay. Now, all of this is not what the play is. If I want to read the play, this is not what I should be reading. The play starts here. Okay. Now, in your book, it starts from the third act, Act 3, Scene 2. You guys are going to be taught just the ending of the play. Okay. And this is also very long. The play itself is like a book. Okay. Now, the reason why I read this and why I told you the kind of thing that it is we are not going to do the whole thing, but we're going to do one of the acts in class. Okay, so that is what we are going to do in the next class. We'll start with Midsummer's Night's Dream. We're going to do one act, and then if we have time, we are going to cover modern theatre. And that is going to be our third and final class when it comes to the history of English drama. Hereafter, we will focus a little bit more on grammar, because I don't think there is anything else that is left that is a part of your syllabus that we have not done at class. Okay, there are a couple of writing aspects that we will cover along with grammar. Okay, everyone understood? ये समझ में आया आपको हमने restoration period के बारे में जो पढ़ा? Lakshmi, I see that you have unmuted, but I can't hear you. Okay, I think Lakshmi is still facing network issues. All right. Everyone else, you guys understood? हमने क्या पढ़ा? पूरा समझ में आया?
Yes, Didi.
Yes? Okay. Lovely. I will see you guys next week. And for your friends, we'll make this recording available. We're going to continue with Midsummer's Night's Dream. Okay? So try and read a little bit of it. It's going to be tough, but give yourself that much time. जैसे मैंने बोला वैसे करके देखना. Keep a finger on it and read it once or twice. If you read it, I know you'll understand it. Okay? So try doing that. All right? Okay? Perfect. I'm ending this class. I love you guys, and I will see you guys next week. Okay? Bye bye.